We are diving back into the world of local politics here on Why the Hell Am I Here today with a council member from Mansfield City Council. So residents of Mansfield, I think you'll especially be interested in this. We talk about everything from backyard chickens to pit bulls to the downtown revitalization that is hopefully coming up the pipeline here from Mansfield. But if you don't live in Mansfield, this episode is still of general interest because we talk about, obviously politics, right? How can you not talk about politics in the state of national politics when you have an elected official in the podcast studio? But we also talk about how he got to where he was. Right? That's the whole point of Why the Hell Am I Here? And to me, it's a really inspiring story. It talks about someone who wasn't really sure where their direction was in life in the very beginning, ended up living in his car for a little while and having to really make his way in the world of politics, creating his own opportunities and pulling himself up to be a representative of the city of Mansfield like he is today. Now, before we dive into our actual interview, I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to one of the generous newsroom partners supporting the Why the Hell Am I Here podcast, Spherion Staffing. Their job is finding jobs, and they love what they do, which is something we both have in common. Without the support of Spherion, the solutions journalism work we do at Richland Source, including this podcast, just wouldn't be possible. For more information about Spherion, our newsroom partners, and our solutions journalism work, visit richlandsource.com/solutions. From the Richland Source Podcast Network, welcome to Why the Hell Am I Here? A podcast that hopes to answer the big and small questions about where you are in life, where you've been, and where you're going. I'm your host, Brittany Schock. Hey guys, welcome back to the Why the Hell Am I Here podcast. Today we have another elected official in the podcast studio with us today. We have Don Bryant, who is a councilman on Mansfield City Council. So welcome, Don, to the podcast.
Thanks
I know,
me.
We've been trying to do this for a while, so I'm really excited you're here.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just going to apologize in advance. You guys can probably notice that I sound really stuffy today, but we've discussed that this is a common thing. We're all kind of going through it at the moment. I can't handle it. It's 60 degrees right now. It was 80 degrees yesterday. Whatever.
Ohio weather.
No
you gotta
kidding.
love it.
I've lived here my whole life. I should be used to this, but I complain every year. It doesn't matter. So, Don, you also have a guest with you in the studio today.
Yeah, this is Daquan Owens, my new intern with the Mansfield City Council internship program.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Brittany.
Okay, tell me about this internship program. I didn't even know you guys did that.
Oh, absolutely. So this is something I started when I was when I first got elected to City Council. I've had 3 classes so far. And basically, it's just to get young people involved and exposed to the community service, public service, introducing young people to what we do at City Council and local government.
Cool. So, Daquan, how long have you been doing this internship?
This is my first year doing this.
Yeah. When did it start?
I would say back in high school, my government teacher, Miss Williams, she inspired me to get more into the government.
No, that's cool though. So, do you think you're going to be in politics one day?
Yes, for sure, for sure.
So this has been an inspiration for you, not like a deterrent then so far. Mm-hmm. And I know you have some material in front of you. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, these are the voters registration forms.
Yes, because, we're recording this on October 11th, and that means that we have an election coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Not too long from now.
Absolutely.
I previously had 12 people register to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not to cut them off, but I think that's pretty amazing. And most of those 12 people, they're young people.
Oh, good.
Which is something that I've been working on, trying to get young people involved in public service. So I think that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely kind of like this nationwide campaign going on about trying to get people registered to vote. So,
absolutely.
And I will say, at the time of this recording, Ohio voter registration is closed,
yeah.
But I mean, even like celebrities are getting on the bandwagon, right?
Yes, they are.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
you have to vote. So, and that's something I really believe in. That voting is important. You need to do it. It's your civic duty. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely.
Like, we're just gonna dive right in
Please.
here, but
Sure.
like the importance of voting and like participating in your democracy.
Absolutely. Is one of the most important things you can do in this country. I mean, as citizens, you have a fundamental right to vote and to choose the people you want to represent you in office.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? Like, why would you want someone else making that decision for you?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I remember I did a story last year about how, like, just absolutely abysmal voter turnout is, especially in primaries. But midterms, though, it should be a little more of a turnout for the midterms.
I think so, absolutely.
Hopefully.
Especially with the Supreme Court nomination and how that process played out. I think there's going to be more people to the polls this election season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like both sides really are feeling really fired up.
Absolutely.
So they're going to be out there. All right, so Don, we've talked a lot about being in public service and stuff. So let's get back. Let's dive into. Let's peel back the
Let's
onion
do that.
and see how did you get to where you are? Because this is what the podcast is all about.
Sure,
Why the hell am I here?
I love that name.
So you're actually born and raised in Mansfield.
Yeah,
right?
sure. I was born and raised in Mansfield, and I attended the Ohio State University. Go Bucks!
Go Bucks! I'm drinking out of my Ohio State koozie today. So,
well, let's just say I graduated from the Ohio State University, but I left for college originally when I was 18. I moved to Virginia and attended a school there, and I did well for my first 2 years.
That's a loaded statement.
It is very involved. I was a journalist. I loved doing that.
Cool.
My major was biology then.
Oh my gosh!
But what happened? I ended up trying to be like my parents. I guess live their life, and I spent too much money. Going out too much, going to parties. I had a nice little apartment on the beach.
Wow,
and,
nice.
So what happened with that, my grades were slipping, and I was trying to take care of my friends, and I ended up becoming homeless for 2 weeks in my car.
Oh my gosh.
And listen, I had family down there, but my parents eventually heard about what happened, about me living in my car. And so they did a little intervention, and I ended up moving back to Ohio.
Wow. You had too much fun.
I had too much fun. But I had to move back home with my parents, and that was a nightmare because my dad and I were just alike, so we were butting heads and fighting all the time. Mm-hmm. But I was a college dropout, couldn't find a job. I applied for over, I think, 30 positions.
Oh my gosh.
With no luck.
You didn't get any of them?
Nothing.
They weren't really interested in hiring the guy who lived in his car?
No,
I
guess
don't
not.
understand that.
I didn't tell him that. But one day, I guess we had a new mayor elected in the town, Mayor Don Bryant. It was 2007. And I don't think I really had an understanding of politics. But one day I decided, I was like, why not go to City Hall and I guess introduce myself to the mayor? And so I did that. I went up to the 9th floor. I said, Mayor, congratulations on your election. Can I have a job?
Oh my gosh. And that worked?
No. His answer, he looked me dead in my eyes. He said, no, absolutely not. And so I said, okay, that's fine. But I left that day. But the next day I came back because I didn't understand. And I said, Mayor, I don't really understand. You're the new guy. You're supposed to clean house when you're elected to office for the first time. Mm-hmm. Why can't you hire me? And he's like, we have a hiring freeze right now. So I understood that. I was out of options. So I just asked him, can I work for you for free at that point? And so he said, that can't hurt. So I created basically my own internship program. Huh. And so that was my second chance. And that's really how I jump-started my career in politics.
Wow. That's so crazy. So you just kind of forced your way in, didn't you?
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
You made your own opportunity.
Had to.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Daquan, I hope you didn't have that much trouble getting an internship with Don this time.
You know what? I actually met Daquan when he was in either 8th or 9th grade.
Yeah.
So every time I would see him, he would ask me, Mr. Bryant, do you know anything about getting an FBI internship?
An FBI internship.
Yeah.
Why the FBI?
It was always a dream as a kid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that didn't end up happening. I guess he graduated last year, and so wants to get in real estate now.
Real estate. Okay. We definitely know some real estate people. We
Absolutely.
just had Jerry Holden on the podcast a couple weeks ago. So
Nice.
So Don, that was your first taste in politics then. Was there were you hooked after that? Was that something you knew you wanted to do?
So that was the initial start to it. At the same time, when I was interning for the mayor, I had an opportunity to intern in Washington, D.C. with Senator Sherrod Brown.
Oh, wow.
So I left that internship for D.C. for 3 to 4 months in Washington, and that really changed my life and allowed me to get the experience to bring back home to advocate for people here
Yeah. I mean, that's the big leagues, right?
Absolutely.
DC.
Absolutely.
So what was the biggest takeaway that you learned from your time in DC?
Oh, man. So be social, to network and to meet people. You never know who you're going to run into. Just be diplomatic and make friends with people. The one thing is you can't make anyone like you, I guess is what my dad used to say. But you can do the best you can and just try to, be yourself, be kind to people and see where that gets you. And it got me a nice little network, people I still keep in touch with today. So that was a good takeaway. But in addition to that, it was a great experience. You run into the senators every day who are high profile people. Back then, President Obama was Senator Obama, so you would see him walking in the hallways. And John McCain was our Senator McCain was his office was right next to Senator Brown, so we saw him a couple of times.
Wow,
it's pretty neat.
That's really cool. Rubbing elbows with some cool people. So
it's all good times.
And then of course you and Senator Brown had the Mansfield connection. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So did you ever get to meet Franklin, his dog?
Yes, I have. Yes, I've met Franklin. I love him.
He's appeared in a new ad for
I saw that.
Sherrod Brown recently, so that cracks me up. I have a lady journalist crush on Connie.
Oh yeah,
Schultz,
absolutely.
His wife. She's just, I follow her on Facebook.
Her.
I want to meet her someday so bad. And I'm trying really hard to I go through it in my head. I really need to keep my cool if I ever get to meet her, because I would totally fangirl.
Maybe she needs to make a visit here to Mansfield, huh?
Gosh, don't tease me, Don.
Oh no. No.
She does though. Seriously, Connie, if you're listening, please come visit me. I will be cool about it. But that's really cool. So, what happened after you finished your internship in DC?
So from there, and when I had that internship with the mayors, I was not enrolled in school. So I was interning with Senator Brown, but he let me stay on. Most of the interns, they were either pursuing their undergraduate degrees or an advanced degree of some sort. But Senator Brown said, as long as you promise to go back to school, I'll let you stay here and work with me. And so immediately after I enrolled into school.
I was going to say here, you're accountable now. So,
right.
So that's when you went to Ohio State. Then,
yes,
right?
that's when I transferred back to Ohio State, yes.
Okay. So, Buckeye to Buckeye then. What was your favorite part about going to Ohio State?
Oh, my goodness. So I loved that. So one of my first classes when I transferred to Ohio State was a CIA course and Russian politics.
Oh, my gosh.
I love that. So
who knew how relevant that would be now?
Right? My teacher, my professor, she was an analyst at the CIA. She sat at the Russian desk, and she would share these stories with us that were just amazing, mind-boggling. And she would make us do these presentations, real-world presentations that were, simulations to what they did at the CIA. And I thought that was pretty cool. And she was a hard grader, so she wouldn't just give anybody an A. So one of my biggest things that I like to talk about with my family is how I earned an A in that class, and it was not an easy thing to do.
Wow.
A lot of work for that one. But yeah.
That is cool. I didn't even know you could take that class at Ohio
She was
State.
a guest lecturer.
Daquan needs to take that class, right? CIA, FBI, kind of the same, maybe not. My favorite class there, obviously I loved all my journalism classes, but my favorite random one that I took was geology, because I learned about, I swear my roommate and I took it together. We swear to this day that our professor was the modern day Indiana Jones, because he would disappear for weeks at a time, and we would just not have class, and he would come back and show us the things that he went and dug up, and it was what?
Oh, that's so cool.
What are you? So that one I enjoyed. I still remember the stuff we learned about diamonds and things like that.
Oh,
so
man.
it was interesting. But I love Ohio State. I was just there last weekend for the game. So
nice.
That was fun. Still follow that.
Can I ask you, what do you think about the Browns?
Okay. We gotta understand something, Don. I grew up in Dayton, so I grew up rooting for the Bengals.
Oh.
So, I know, which is a sin up here. But so I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent about the Browns.
Okay, we'll leave that alone. Daquan, are you a Browns fan? Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I know that I followed online the debauchery that happened after they won their first game, in 2 years, a couple weeks ago. So all my friends are really huge Browns fans, and I'm woohoo, good for you guys.
I think I'm a fan now. I'm ready to go. I've been waiting for a while.
But yeah, I just like college football way better.
Absolutely,
personally.
I agree.
So,
Same.
but anyway, we're getting on a tangent there. But you went to Ohio State to major in political science.
Yes.
Right? So,
yes.
like, you just went all in on
I
the
did.
political science
Absolutely.
stuff.
So I guess the internships made me change my, I guess they helped me find what I was interested in doing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, you said biology was
Yeah,
your original major. So I get why. Why
So
biology?
I always wanted to be a doctor growing up from watching ER on TV. That's so bad, isn't it? I love that show. Listen, I wanted to be a lifeguard from watching Baywatch, and I did that. So anyway, I wanted to be a doctor, but
You have really great influences in your career.
TV, right?
Yep.
But that changed after working in the biology lab during the first semester. It was disgusting. It was nasty. Not for me.
Yep.
It's needed, but it's not for me.
My brother wants to be a doctor. He wants to be a cardiologist.
Oh, okay,
so
nice.
he's currently down at University of Cincinnati trying to work on that. But I'm with you. Where I'm just like, man, if you can do that, good on
Yeah.
you. Because wow, I cannot. See, but here's the thing. I'm a journalist. My other brother's an accountant. My other brother wants to be a doctor. So I don't know what went wrong with me. But they're gonna have to take care of me when I'm old. But you majored. You also majored in international relations.
Yes.
Then is
Yes.
that where the like CIA Russia course?
Yes,
came in?
absolutely. I
So,
love
okay.
international relations, just learning how the world gets along with
Yeah.
one another, learning about soft power, hard power, just the order of the world, I guess you can say.
Okay, explain that to me.
Oh.
What does that mean?
So,
I'm gonna make you call back on this.
oh, no. I can't. So I'll open the door to that one. So I guess just to see which countries in the world hold power and how they hold the power that they have, I guess. Is it through war? Is it through diplomacy? Mostly, how do they do it? It's a mix of smart power, a mix of hard and soft power.
So how would you characterize the United States right now?
Oh, absolutely. Right now, I think we are still, even though we did remove ourselves from the Paris Treaty, I do still think that we are a mix of hard and soft power. So we're a smart power.
Okay.
And for the time being, in the future, I think so.
That might be a loaded question.
Yeah, it is kind of, I guess.
Yep. I have to say, when you called us a smart power, I may have chuckled to myself a little.
Uh-oh.
So
What were you laughing at?
we're not.
I
gonna
know,
go there.
we're not, are we?
Oh gosh, that's really interesting though. So, I mean, do you get to use that at all now?
Oh,
Like, does Mansfield
well.
care about international powers?
So there's different ways you can apply that to different situations. So here in Mansfield, like when we're looking at economic development, we got to look at some of the companies that are actually expanding their markets into the global marketplace, such as Gorman Rupp. They have businesses that I guess they conduct business overseas. So it's technically, you're doing business overseas, and it's a global thing.
Wow.
I guess you could say.
Huh. That's cool. And I think people, sometimes forget that like just because you're in Mansfield doesn't mean you're limited to Mansfield. And these companies do. I mean, thanks to the internet, you can pretty much
absolutely.
conduct business wherever, right?
Sure.
So, so Don, you, after you graduated from Ohio State, got into education
Yes.
for a little bit. So let's talk about that. You said you were the assistant dean at Mansfield Senior back at your alma mater while you were earning your master's in education as well. So let's talk about that. Why did you decide to go to that course as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go back to that internship I had with the mayor's office. One of my duties with him was to form something called the Mayor's Education Task Force, which was a volunteer organization to get the community involved in our local schools to walk around the halls to try to help reduce behavior and attendance issues. And so we did in 2009 and 2010. We reduced attendance and behavior issues by 30%, which is a good number. So that kind of gave me a little foundation. And so they had what my job duties were in Mansfield Senior High was to walk the halls and to track down the students with attendance issues and behavioral issues.
Oh no!
And to
You were like the bad cop, basically.
So I was assigning Friday schools and lunch detentions, but I would try not to give so many of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think that comes from then when you're talking about like behavioral issues? Like how do you think that comes about, and how do we go about solving that?
There's different ways, and I don't think there's a master solution. I think as long as you're taking steps towards a solution, that's what matters. So there's different approaches that you can use for behavioral issues. Why that is, maybe it could vary between the student. Maybe the student's not so engaged in their schoolwork. Maybe we can do better at engaging our students with the task in the classroom that they have to do. But I think that it's just the changing times, and we're moving so fast. This is an internet generation, so we're so connected, and we're always doing something on our phones and always multitasking. So just sitting still at a desk for how long were class periods? For 45 minutes or so?
45.
So sitting there for 45 minutes, just it might be a little much.
Yeah. Daquan, were you ever a kid that got in trouble in school?
A couple times.
Yeah. Just like, no big deal.
Yeah,
See,
probably freshman year.
Yeah. I was a kid who, like, my father put the fear of God in me. It was like, if you, like, you had better behave. So I was always pretty goody two-shoes in school. So that didn't get me a lot of friends, but
That's okay.
but get me out of trouble. So that's good. So Don, I know you told me that you wanted, at one point you thought you wanted to be a principal, but then you kind of had this crisis of like, oh my gosh, this is really what I want to do. So let's talk about that. Like,
Sure.
Wanting to go down that path and then realizing maybe this isn't for me.
So just because our education system, it's to change the system and to really reap the success that we need. It's a slow moving process, very slow moving. And at this time in my career, I think this was great learning experience to be in our schools, to see how to manage a classroom and to manage different personalities in the classroom and in the school. I thought that was wonderful. I would love to go back one day, maybe, but eventually, I guess my passion is teaching maybe adults or whoever wants to listen to what's going on in the world about politics and building good international relations with different countries. I love that.
Yeah. So what then made you decide, like, maybe I want to dive into local politics then?
That's a great question. So getting into the talk about education, and at the time when I first explored running for office was 2013, and there was a lot going on in education. I forgot what they called this. It was a curriculum change.
Like Common Core.
Common Core,
Yeah.
there we go. I don't know how I forgot that. So that was really going on, and a lot of teachers were frustrated. A lot of parents were frustrated with that, and that kind of motivated me. Maybe we can do something about this. And so I threw my hat in the ring, run for state representative.
Oh, boy.
I just
Jumping in
jumped
the deep
right
end.
in there. It's like I helped with several campaigns, and I have some experience. Let me go ahead and see what this is all about. And so I did that. In 2014, announced my candidacy for state representative.
How'd that go?
So it was, I'll tell you what, it was a lot of work. It was fun getting out there and talking to people. We knocked on thousands of doors and participated in many different parades. And my opponent, Mark, he's a great guy. I like him. And we worked together occasionally with city council and the state issues that we have here locally. We work on different issues together. So I don't know. It helped me understand what politics and public service is really about and how to, secure a seat if you really want one.
Yeah, totally. So this was in 2013, 14,
Sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and we know that Don was eventually on Mansfield City Council in 2015. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about some of the sponsors of the Why the Hell Am I Here podcast, particularly our newsroom partners. And we'll be right back, so stay tuned.
The solutions journalism work we do at Richland Source, including the Why the Hell Am I Here podcast, would not be possible without the support of our newsroom partners, including PR Machine Works, Nanogate, DRM, the Visiting Nurses Association, Richland Bank, Mechanics Bank, Ohio Health, and the Area Agency on Aging. Seriously, I couldn't be more grateful to our community for believing in what we do here just as hard as we do. For more information about our newsroom partners and our solutions journalism work, visit richlandsource.com/solutions. Now let's get back to the podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Why the Hell Am I Here podcast. We are here with Don Bryant, who's a Mansfield City Council councilman.
Hello.
and Daquan, who is his intern for the year. So
Hi, everybody.
yeah. So we've been talking about Don's winding journey to get to where he is today, graduated from Mansfield, native of Mansfield, went to Virginia and lived in his car for a little while, and then went to Ohio State, majored in political science, and then, decided after a little brief stint in education, maybe I want to get into politics. So, Don, you said that you first got onto Mansfield City Council in 2015 because you were a seat filler. So, what does that mean?
So our former councilwoman at large, Ellen Herring, she was stepping down. So we were looking for a person in the city to replace her on city council, and so I threw my hat in the ring for that and just campaigned for it for a little while and convinced our party that I was the guy for the job, and they appointed me.
Mm-hmm. And then later that year, you ended up running to actually be elected to the seat, and then won. So I take it that your stint when you were appointed to it really made you get a taste for it and decide, you know what, this is for me.
Absolutely.
So, do you remember thinking, wow, this is really where I need to be, and this is where I can make a difference?
Yeah, I did actually, and it's a great opportunity to connect that experience from state government and from national government, and just my experience working there in those different places, and bring that experience back home, and to really see how I could connect that to city council business, and it's helped.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, what are some of the things that you have worked on then in the 3 years that you've been on council?
Oh man, it's quite a bit, and I don't have an exhaustive list with me today. But one of the most, I guess, important things, because I am chairman of our public safety committee in Mansfield City Council, is just working and building a good relationship with our police department and helping our police bridge gaps and build relationships with our community at large. So that's very important. And so City Council passed, when I first got on there, a bill to develop our community policing office. Mm-hmm. So, and to help our officers ride bikes in the community and to participate in different events in our community. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and they kind of re-upped that recently,
yes,
right?
They have.
Recommitted to that.
Absolutely.
So why do you think that's important?
It's important just to show people that people often think of our police forces as a military unit, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Just to show people that our police, they're humans.
Sure.
We're here to serve. They're here to serve and to protect people. If you need a police officer, they will come.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Give them a call and they'll be there. So I think it's important just to show the people of the city that the police, they're not our enemy. They're here to help.
Yeah. I know I've talked to Chief Kuntz about this a little bit too. Yeah. More so, not recently, but back in the past. I know he's been to some NECIC meetings and talked about the importance of that. And I remember one meeting in particular, he talked about really trying to have more minorities on the police force, because the police force right now is predominantly white, and Mansfield has a very large African American population. Sure. And that's difficult sometimes, right? So do you think that's part of it too, part of their trying to reach out? Because we can talk a lot about how race relations between
Sure.
police and on a national scale right now, and how difficult that is.
I think that definitely fits into the bigger picture. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I guess to become a police officer, you have to take a civil service exam, and it happens every 2 years, and then there's the police academy afterwards. So it just has to be the commitment out there and dedication to want to become a police officer.
Yeah, totally. And I think too, there are some bad eggs, obviously.
Sure.
There's that everywhere, but most of the police officers I know, they genuinely want to serve their community. Absolutely. And want to help. So, that's encouraging.
I tell you, we have a good police department, a great police chief and assistant police chief, and the entire leadership of our police departments. They're wonderful. Yeah. They're willing to work with our community regardless of race or gender. They're a solid block.
Yeah, definitely. You also mentioned, Don, that you are part of the Downtown Advisory Board.
Oh, so City Council recently passed a bill creating the Downtown Advisory Board, which I think our government, it does a lot with keeping our operations going. But this board is innovative, and it's going to help move things into the future.
Okay. Yeah. Is that having to do with the South by Southwest project?
Yes,
or is
it
that
is.
Two different things?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
cool.
it is.
Because I remember a lot of controversy about the license plates tax. So, but that did pass.
It did.
So that was a good thing. So what are some of the objectives of the Downtown Advisory Board?
So there are none. Okay. So when it was the $5 tax issue, I just got a lot of complaints on the phone about raising taxes, and pretty much people wanted to know what that money, where it was going.
Right. Right.
So that's the purpose of the Downtown Advisory Group. They're going to help shape our downtown area to make it more friendly for everyone.
Yeah.
Business friendly, and hopefully we'll have more living spaces downtown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's definitely going to help our city moving forward.
Yeah. To me, that's really exciting that Mansfield is making that a priority to do that. And I remember, writing stories about it and talking to people about how it's really a ripple effect, like you start in downtown and you hope that it ripples out, because I know people have said like, well, why are we focusing on downtown? It's like, well, you got to start somewhere, and this is a really good place. Like, it's the epicenter basically of the county.
Absolutely.
So, you mentioned downtown living. Is that something you want to see personally?
I do, actually. I would love to. When I was in Columbus, I guess I wasn't downtown, but I was in the heart of the Ohio State University community, and I was close to everything, close to grocery shopping, close to entertainment, close to class. Mm-hmm. Did I say close to food? So, so it's just having that access to everything right there at the center of the city. I think that's going to be great.
Yeah, I know. We have something called open source where people can submit questions to Rich and Source and ask us to look into things. And one of the things that people asked was like, can we talk about downtown living? Like, what can we offer? So that's something I personally want to look into as a project. So, yeah, because I think that'd be really cool.
And I would love to move downtown, actually.
Really?
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
You would actually live down here?
I sure would, yes.
Yep. Now, do you have kids, Don?
I do not.
Like,
yes, let's say I do. I have 2 furry kids, dogs.
Furry kids.
Yes, yes.
So we can walk them around, and
absolutely.
they would love it down here. Okay, speaking of, you brought up dogs.
Hey.
One of the things that that I know that from my a little context here. I don't cover Mansfield City Council super often. Normally when I'm there, it's like to cover for someone else who can't be there. But the pit bull issue and the dog, like that whole like vicious dog thing, I swear has been going on for years.
Yes, it has.
And I know you have been like very involved in that. So like, where do we stand right now? That is.
So right now, and how it's going to be, we are previously Mansfield had a ban on pit bulls in the city limits, and so it took 3 years to change that law to make it legal for people to own pit bulls in the city, but with certain restrictions, with certain requirements, safety requirements. So the big issue was safety. There's a lot of people scared of dogs, and especially pit bull breeds. But I don't think you can judge one one pit bull incident that may have happened and apply it to the entire group. I don't think that's fair. So I think it's awesome that we did lift that ban in Mansfield. Yeah. And it took a lot of work.
I mean, man, it is a contentious issue.
It is.
Like, every time it's brought up, it's like a lot of people come out of the woodworks to have an opinion on it. That and the downtown chickens, the backyard chickens, I think have been some of the craziest things. So, which, the council eventually decided not to have chickens.
Sure.
So, why? Why not?
And the thing is, so personally, I don't care whether someone has chickens or not. I don't care. I think that's pretty cool. But it's when you get petitions of over 300 people that are signing these petitions that are your neighbors, people you attend church with, or out in the community with. When they send that, asking you, please do not pass this law, you have to definitely take that into consideration.
Sure.
And then I guess the other issue was affordability. Our codes and permits department, they were short. They still are. They're short-staffed, and just to inspect the properties of people who like to have chickens, that was going to be a task. So I took into consideration our department heads and what they thought about it.
Yeah, because I guess that's the thing about being a councilman. It's not about you and your beliefs. It's about what the best that you can do for the people you represent, right?
And that's the tough part. And that's what I learned. And that's one of the biggest things or greatest things that I learned in D.C. and interning with the mayor's office and under Senator Brown is that it's not about you. It's about what people are going through, hearing their issues and concerns, and applying your knowledge to see how you can help, resolve some of their issues and concerns that they have.
Yeah. Is that one of the more challenging parts about being in public service, or one of the more rewarding parts?
I think it's one of the more rewarding parts. Yeah. I just went to college for this and learned how to do stuff like this, and I enjoy helping people. I love people, so it gives me an opportunity to give back to the community.
Yeah. What are some of the challenging parts of being an elected official?
So it is being that public face, and sometimes you're going to get some people who are not too happy with you. Sure. And there may be people sometimes that will send you some mail that's not so friendly, or follow you sometimes, or yell at you in public, kind of making a scene or whatever. But that's okay. You have your First Amendment rights. You have every right to do so, and I understand that. And I learned that in D.C. when with all the protesters.
Yeah, no kidding.
But so another challenging part is just taking these decisions and making these decisions, such as the chicken issue, where I don't care if you have chickens or not. I think it's cool. But there's a large part of your constituency that really don't want this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, again, that's the thing, is like, I'm not up here because I'm, it's not the rule of law by Don Bryant. It's
Heck no.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy, though. Now, tell me, do you feel like the discourse in politics right now, like, do you feel like people are more volatile because of, like, the national, how things are right now? Because, in my opinion, it just feels like all that hate and anger is really out in the open right now.
I think it's out in the open. And then what's going on at public rallies and, I guess, in social media, is just people are letting their true feelings out, and, there's no filter a lot of times, and it's hard to come to a middle ground to understand what the other side is thinking and saying. Like, why are you saying these things? Mm-hmm. It's hard to kind of come to the middle and figure it all out. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I asked, so a couple weeks ago we had Tony Vero on, who's as you know, Richland County Commissioner. Yeah. And I asked him some of the same questions. We talked about some of the same things because he's obviously gone through some of that as well,
yes.
like getting the hate comments and whatnot. And I said, on a national scale, do you see a light at the end of the tunnel? And I forget his answer on that, but I'm curious as to what yours is.
I do, actually. I think, so our government, ultimately, it's in the people's hands, and that's the beauty of democracy. We all have a voice, and we should exercise our voice. So I think if enough people are fed up with what's going on in Washington, or with the State House, or here in Mansfield with City Council, they can always get out there and vote and change things. Mm-hmm. It's in the power of their hands.
Do you think we'll ever be able to come back to a time where we're not so tribal against each other? Because it's very right now, like, if you're not with me, you're against me. And I'm on this side and you're on this side and we have no common ground. And it just feels very divided right now.
If we can find ways to cultivate empathy and just to feel a general compassion and concern for what other people are feeling and thinking, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
I hope so.
What do you think, Daquan?
I think that everybody will have their own decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if everybody will come together, but they will probably work together if they have to.
Yeah, if they have to, right? Eventually we'll be forced to, right? I'm thinking about, okay, so the top of my mind right now is that climate change report that came out a couple days ago, where it's like, in 2040, we're going to be doomed unless we can pull together. So I'm thinking of that, where it's like, all right, eventually here's the common ground, is that we have to save the planet or we're all going to die. So it's very, I don't know about you, I feel very anxious about that all the time.
I do too. I do too. We only have one Earth, right? So we have to take care of it.
I'm trying not to feel like we're doomed. So,
but I don't think so. No.
So what else is going on in Mansfield coming up here? Some things that City Council's on the agenda.
Well, one thing is, and I do want to talk on this real quick, is what's going on at the OC Hill building on the north end. We recently merged the Parks and Recreations Department into the OC Hill building. So we took out the Regional Community Advancement Department, or rather the mayor did, and he put his Parks Department there. And so we've been leasing space for local nonprofits just to operate out of the OC Hill building. And I think that's really helping spread outreach in the north end and in different parts of the city, and just to get people opportunities out there to get their nonprofits started or to just continue their missions.
That's awesome. So what do you think then is the future for Don Bryant? I mean, do you foresee being in public service for a little while longer?
Oh, absolutely. I love what I do. I love helping people and listening to people's concerns and see how I can apply what I know. And then if I don't know something, I'll go out there and work with people and collaborate and just see how we can solve problems. So I think public service is always going to be something. It's in my blood, and it's just what I love doing. Either I'm in office or I'm teaching or I'm working behind the scenes, whatever it is, I think I'm always going to be in it.
Yeah. Always educating people, working with people. You're a people person, right?
I'm very social. Very hyperactive.
Are you like a textbook extrovert then?
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Well, Don, thanks so much for being on the podcast.
It's over. Can I ask you one quick question?
Yeah.
Why is the show called what it is?
Why is it called Why the Hell Am I Here?
Why the hell am I here?
So I'll tell you, it's really funny when we talk about like how it came about. Back in like December or January, someone asked me to start a podcast. It was like, all right, Noah's got a podcast. Brittany, you should have a podcast. I'm like, all right, fine. What the heck am I going to talk about? And it started as this way to talk about like when we think about RYP and like millennials, and it's like why would they stay here in town or why would they move away? And so it started as like, all right, you know, Jake Penwell, you're a 28-year-old guy who's born and raised in Shelby. Why would you stay here? Why the hell are you here? It started as that, you know, as this way of like kind of saying Mansfield, people say all the time, Mansfield sucks. You know, like you hear that kind of discourse of like people not having the best self-esteem about their hometown.
Sure.
And really it's a way to say, all right, here's 30 episodes of people who are either from Mansfield originally or not, and they choose to live here because they think it's great. And so it's like kind of an antidote to that, to people saying there's nothing to do here, there's no reason to be here. It's like, no, there's a lot of really smart people who think Mansfield's great, and so
awesome.
you should too.
Awesome. Well, thank you for answering that.
Yeah. I was going to say nobody really asked me the questions, so
No,
I don't think I like that. So.
Sorry.
No, but seriously, anything else though? Because like I'm going to wrap it up unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
I'm just glad Daquan's here with me because the people that he registered to vote last week, it was in 1 week. Those 12 people were people of his age groups, and I think it's very important to have young people get involved in the political process. And so I want to thank him for doing that.
Yeah.
And just hope more people get out there, register to vote. It's too late for this election cycle, but still.
Yeah. If you are registered, go vote.
Go vote.
Like,
yeah, please.
Actually vote. Please do that.
Please. So thank you, Brittany. I appreciate your time for letting me be here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Daquan, for coming and tagging along. We definitely appreciate that. Don, if your constituents are listening and they're like, "Ooh, I have a really good idea for Don," or "I want to complain to him," how can people get a hold of you?
Sure. People can reach out to me. Email. My email address it's my initials. It's Don Bryant. So it's db@donbryant.com. They can reach out to me through email. You can give me a call through my public line. It's 419-971-3662, or connect with me on Facebook. I have my private profile, but I'll add you as a friend. It's Donnie Bryant. Or you can like my page. It's Don Bryant.
Cool. And of course, if you're interested in listening to more Why the Hell Am I Here episodes, you can find us on richlandsource.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thanks again, guys, for being here.
Thank you so much.
And everyone else, we'll see you next time.